And a good evening, everyone. Happy New Year and welcome to Historically Black Sense News. I'm your host, Shimei Cook. We have a great show for you tonight. So let's get started. Our first guest is a Southern University finance student who had a challenging start in college, but is now finding success through leadership. Please welcome Christian Coleman to the show. Hi, Chris. How are you?
How y'all doing? How y'all doing? Thank you for having me.
No problem, no problem. Listen, before we show, you were talking about that you're from Dallas, Texas,
Yes, sir.
right? And you go to Southern University, down in Louisiana. What drew you to Southern University?
So I was born in Dallas, and I was here a little bit of my childhood, but like after my mom and dad divorced, I had came out to Baton Rouge, and I ended up going to school out there. So, and then my sister went there. Some of my family members went there. So like it was just a lot of family members who went to Southern. I just wanted to continue the tradition.
Yeah, how important that is that tradition for you and your family?
It's very important because I'm very family oriented. Like the word I live by is foundation. So my family is my everything. So even though I'm the baby boy out of the bunch, I just feel like they all look up to me as a leader, and I got
Yeah.
to do whatever I can to make them proud and take us to the next level.
You're involved in so many organizations on campus, Collegian 100, Finance Club, Men's Federation. The list goes on. But you're not just joining these groups; you're leading them. What
Yes.
drives you to do that on this commitment on that level?
Okay, so like when I first came to Southern, I was like kind of lost, and I didn't like coming out of high school. I was hanging out with the wrong crowd, so I didn't really have no drive and stuff. So like seeing all these leaders like just doing big things and stuff. When I finally decided to change my ways and change my surroundings and started surrounding myself with people, I used to hang out with a lot of upperclassmen starting up my freshman year.
Yeah.
So like just seeing them making an impact on campus and stuff, I was like, man, I just want to do it. I just got to do that, and it's something driven. It driven me to it, and I just built it brick by brick, and I just joined one organization because some people join organizations just to do other stuff, but I actually joined these organizations to put in work and make a change, and that's what I've been doing. I'm just grateful for everything.
Well, you interned at the Department of Transportation and Development in Louisiana as a finance student working this year.
Mhm.
And now after graduation, you're aiming for JP Morgan Chase in graduate school. Walk us through your career vision and what you want to accomplish down the road.
So I done a lot of things at Southern, and like a saying that I have like from Men's Federation or like just me in life is like we do everything brick by brick. We building males up, and we building people up and ourselves up. Success is by doing a different thing and just building yourself. So like I want to start out working in a bank or like a real estate because I worked at a real estate firm before and DOTD. But like after graduation, I'm gonna go to grad school for finance, of course, and then I want to learn like the system through the banks or whatever. Then a couple years after that, I want to start doing my own thing, like buying old homes and buildings and rebuilding them and selling them.
Mm.
And that's when the brick by brick thing will come in. So it's like the brick by brick thing. It's not just something for college. Like I'm gonna use that in my actual life after I graduate. So
What why is that so important to you? Is that something that is in the water at Southern University, or is that just something that is in your heart that you just want to, carry on that legacy?
it's something in my heart for sure. It starts with my grandfather, the late Milton Anthony, and like his word, like literally, we used to live by as growing up as kids, like foundation. And he always used to tell us, "I built the foundation. I laid the foundation down. If it wasn't for me, none of y'all would be here." And he gonna continue that foundation after I pass. And he told me that in his deathbed, holding my hand, he was like, "You was gonna be the one to lead this family." Mind you, I'm the baby boy, and like I learned a lot from my siblings. Like my family's my everything. Like growing up, like my brothers, they used to be in the streets and stuff. But like they're doing very well for themselves now, but they made sure to keep me out of that. But
Yeah.
coming out of high school, I got back stuck in that. And then like my mom, she was just like, "You're not living by his name." And like I have my grandfather tatted on me. And my mom, this really changed my whole life. Like when she told me, she was like, "You got him tatted, but you're not living by nothing that he lived by or stood by." And I
Mm.
felt so played. But it's like she was right because I was just throwing my life away. So when I decided to come back to Southern, Mr. Jordan Hilaire, he was like the first person who took me in under his wing. Like he just saw a lonely boy on campus just lost, and I told him everything. And I was like, I just wanted to change my life. So foundation is basically like the word I live by, and brick by brick just follow with it. And like it's a saying that people go by like, my name is Chris, but like everybody be like bet on Chris and like bet on Chris, like he gonna get the job done. Anything that he does, he gonna get the job done, brick by brick. So
Well, brick by brick, you are building a legacy for yourself, and I know your grandfather is very proud of you. Congratulations to you.
appreciate
Best of
that.
luck to you moving forward. And thank you so much for coming on the show, Chris.
I appreciate you, man.
No problem. Our next guest is a student leader at Hampton University who is educating young people about hair care. Please welcome Brooke Brookins to the show. Hey, Brooke.
Hi there.
How are you?
I'm well, and yourself?
Thank you. I'm well. I'm well. Listen, you're only 18 years old and you already founded Crowning the Culture. It's a nonprofit focused on, hair care education. Well, black hair education, rather. What made you realize at such a young age that this was something that our community needed?
So I'm currently 19, but at the time I was 18 years old when I
Thank you for that
started the
correction.
organization.
Thank you for that
Yes.
correction. I'm sorry about that. Yes, go ahead.
No, you're totally fine.
Yeah.
And so I had an interesting educational background. I grew up 13 years in Chinese immersion, so it was dual language programming. And so already I had to learn from an early age the intersection of race, education, and culture. And so growing up, I just wore my hair very low, bald fade. Story of most Black men not really knowing or dealing with our natural hair or growing it out and whatnot. And then, the pandemic happened around my sophomore year of high school. And because of that, I was forced to grow my hair out as the barbershops were closed down. And so that was the first time I had to tackle my God-given natural thing, my hair. And I remember being like, what is a shampoo? What is a conditioner? What is a leave conditioner? What are these curls? Trying to figure that out. And so for 2 years in high school, I had to learn and master the science behind natural hair care for African Americans. And so, as you saw, we were spoken earlier about it. I had that big curly afro. And then I came to college and everyone was, or a lot of people were asking me and inquiring about, how did you get your hair like this? How did you grow it so fast? What products do you use? What's your wash day routine? And so I just started teaching people, and then little by little, even doing people's hair and their washing goes for them. And so a lot of people on campus just came to me for hair advice and questions. And it made me really realize that there is a huge stigma associated with African American hair care within our community and outside our community. And on top of that, there's a serious lack of education, which does feed into that stigma of surrounding hair care. And so I was like, what platform can I build and can I use so that I can bridge this gap in our community? Because several people have the hair care products and the hair care brands, but who is educating, and where's that educational piece of how to the historical significance of it, the psychology of it, and most importantly, the anatomy and how to break down the science of your hair. And so that's what started Crowding the Culture.
Listen, you're from St. Paul, Minnesota, but you chose to attend Hampton University. Is that the real HU? I'm just trying to figure that out.
Yes, the real HU. No questions
okay.
about it. The real HU.
Okay, well, but what drew you to that HBCU? And how has that experience shaped you to do what you are doing right now?
So yeah, I already spoke about growing up in Chinese immersion. So I was the only African American male in my program to matriculate fully and graduate from the Chinese immersion program, and it was the first charter program in Minnesota as well too. And so my brother, he actually is a current senior at Hampton University. So naturally, our family was already had ties to the university, and so they had several summer programs such as the Leadership Institute. High School Summit, as well as the Young Diplomats program. And I was taking these programs and really just growing my network from an early age of 16 at Hampton University. And every time I visited the university, it always just felt like home. I was coming home. And I already had my brother here. And it was my first time coming to a space where everyone looked like me in an academic setting, looks like me in student leadership. I saw myself, growing up in predominantly white institutions, you're tokened as the, smart Black kid. And so I came here and I was like, wow, everyone's a smart Black kid. And so that's what ultimately made me choose Hampton University, because it felt like home. Now, how that has shaped my influence, I guess, like I said, growing up at PWIs, you're used to being the Black kid that shines academically and socially in your networks and in your connections and background. And so coming to Hampton University had to teach me how to stand out even further amongst people who look like me and are like-minded, how to step and reach out further. What do you have that sets you apart as a leader? And naturally, being an education major, I have a severe passion for leadership and service. There's something, that's why I love gardening. There's something about planting something, starting something, and you nurturing it and seeing it grow. And that's my approach to leadership. Came to Hampton and I said, I have a voice and I have ideas and I have an advocacy and platform that I want to build and use here. And so early on, I got into student class office when I was elected freshman class president. So I came and hit the ground running, and that opened so many avenues to now serving as Mr. NAACP in student government and in several leadership facets, even building the network to start my nonprofit successfully.
Yeah, you're a man of many talents. You're a model. You've been in the Essence magazines, walked in fashion shows, modeled for BET projects, and you're heading to New York Fashion Week. But you're also serving, like you said, as Mr. NAACP and running a nonprofit. How do you balance all of that? And what drives you to stay so involved? 'Cause that's a lot on one plate.
Yes, and some days it definitely feels like a lot on my plate too. And so I had to learn everything's with intention. Once you join something with intention, then it's easy to remind yourself why. I try to really structure everything I'm involved with that, like making sure it's equally community service, equally campus involvement, equally hobby and interest, such as modeling and what I do on campus in creative projects and whatnot. And so once I know my reason for joining this with intention, then prioritizing it is very easy. And then naturally, you just have to be disciplined enough to know how to schedule accordingly and knowing the importance of saying no sometimes too.
That is true. Elaborate on that, because that's important. That might be somebody's New Year's resolution, knowing when to say no.
Yes.
Elaborate on that. Why is that so important, especially as a college student?
Yes. So as a college student, you're coming to this new environment with this whole world presented to you. You have so many opportunities, so many things to get involved in. And it's very easy to get Google-eyed, seeing everybody in these leadership positions and whatnot and want to join any and everything. And I experienced this my freshman year, a little burnout. And so I had to learn that not everything um, you can't do everything all at once. And so you
Yeah.
need to take steps to it. It's about not just prioritizing what's in the now, but thinking about the greater impact in the future as well too, and structuring that way and prioritizing what is truly important to you now, later, and then aligning with your goals and your passions. But you have to know yourself and what your passions are and what you want to accomplish. And that will give you the ability to say no and to say yes to certain things.
No doubt. Best of luck to you. I can't wait to see what you do in the future. How can people support your nonprofit, and how can people stay informed about Black hair care and all that stuff? How can they support you?
Yeah, so our website is fully up and running. It is crowningthecultureinc.org. And we also have an Instagram page. If you look up at crowning.the.culture, you can find us there. We are constantly posting educational content in our website. I even authored and published something called a Crown Care booklet, which is an intensive breakdown guide to the science behind your type for hair, how to build your wash day routine, the terminologies to look for, what type of products to get. And so it breaks down and teaches you everything you know about your hair journey that I was lacking myself in my hair journey. Available for $10 for purchase on our website as well.
Thank you so much, Brooke. We appreciate
Yes.
it.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Our final guest is the FAMU alum who is a visionary brand producer. Please welcome Brandi Mitchell to the show. Hello, Miss Brandi. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm good. By the way, I love your hair. Let me
Thank
get
you.
that out the way. And number two, my mom's name is Brandi and it's spelled the same way. So
Really?
you have a special place in my heart already.
Okay,
Okay.
okay, very good.
All right. Listen. So you have your own studio, and you call your studio your quote unquote modern day Hitville. Can you walk us through what that means and how you're producing hits for purpose driven leaders the way Motown Productions hits for artists?
Yeah, I was, so I was just fascinated by Motown. Motown, I mean, just they're known for having created the most iconic stars.
Yeah.
And my mother, little known fact, my mother actually went to school with Diana Ross. And she saw
Wow.
it kind of be birthed, like Berry Gordy's sister was a friend of hers. So she told me about the beginning time. And I used to, at the beginning of my career, I was a celebrity makeup and hair artist. And I could do both hair and makeup very well and know how to put a total look together. So what I admired about Motown was that they had artist development, and they turned talented people, but most of them came from the hood in the projects, and they turned them and they made them be able to not only be great singers and performers, but they had the total look head to toe. And I always looked at that, and I modeled it first in image development, right? I always knew that you had to have the head to toe look.
Yeah.
But then when it came down to authority brands, as I call them my everyday celebrities. I feel like you have to have a head to toe or end to end identity, look, product monetization. And so this studio is where people can come and actually transform. It's more than just content, it's literally them having the courage, the confidence, being able to understand how to tell their story and looking the part. So that's why, I'm like, people call me like Berry Gordy. Plus I'm from Detroit, right? So,
Oh, wow.
so yeah. So even on my wall, I don't know if you look really closely, like I have a whole Motown wall here. Like you
Wow.
may or may not be able to see it. And then on this wall, I have all of my celebrities that I've worked with, like or been on their set. Like you see Beyonce right there.
Oh, you worked with Queen Bee.
Anthony Mackie, who is Captain America right now. My
Wow.
favorite gospel group, Commission. So those are all people that, like that I work with in my career. And so, yeah.
Wow. Listen, you have a great journey, like you mentioned, as a celebrity hair and makeup artist to brand producer and filmmaker. It's just so fascinating, your journey there. What was the moment when you realized that you needed to step out from behind the chair into the director's chair?
Yeah, I was just literally, I was on set, and everything, I was paying attention to everything else, because it's like, once you have your talent ready, I was really, I would sit, a lot of times I would be right next to the director or producer, and I was so interested in the way that they were getting the talent to be able to tell the story or tell their lines. I was paying attention to the lights. I had always been a writer. So that was already kind of like inside of me. And I would take the notes that they gave me and I would put them in binders, and I just started studying. So it really became my own school. And I learned so much experientially. That's why I always tell my clients and students, always be aware of your environment, because there's so much around. If you stay locked in and say, oh, I'm only focused on this, you may miss a lot of other opportunities. So it was my biggest school. My biggest school was literally set, and I just literally just transitioned over. And I don't know how exactly, I didn't plan this, first of all.
Okay.
But it was, now that I've walked in it, I'm like, it was a very God orchestrated, a divinely orchestrated path. And maybe I had to go this way, because I don't know if I would have just automatically jumped and said, oh, I'm going to direct and produce. Right.
Yeah.
But once I got there, I really could see this path forming, and I just went with it.
Now, listen, when you mentioned Beyonce, I'm looking to your back. How was it working with Queen Bee?
Well, so for clarity, I was a national artist for L'Oreal, and that meant that I did a lot of their high profile things and tours. And Beyonce was a contracted person at one time with L'Oreal. So we were contracted to do some of her tour stops on her tour.
Okay.
And so for me, I think it was Sasha Fierce, maybe. I
Okay,
don't
I
know.
am Sasha Fierce.
Okay, I am so okay. So, just one particular time, it was really random, right? I was working for we were at the tour stop was at Essence Music Festival.
Okay.
And they just randomly pulled out of a hat like people. It was two people they pulled, and I was one of them. They were like, "Come on, you're going to meet Beyonce." It was literally like that. Crazy stuff
Wow,
like
like a
that happened to me.
spare
Like,
the moment.
yeah. And so it was really cool. At the time I was working with one of her artists because she had her and her dad had a girls group called Ramaya. They were my clients. I was actually working with them. So we had a common touch point. I had been communicating kind of like with her mom, who was doing the costuming at the time.
Okay.
So I kind of was like, okay, how am I gonna go in here and make myself different than everybody else? And that was my touch point,
Okay.
She was, let me tell you something, to be honest, she was more nervous than I was.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Because you gotta realize sometimes when people go on stage, that it literally is that when they say they turn it on the valve, they turn it on the valve. If you just were to just talk to them, sometimes they're not, they're like nervous or introverted too. They put on a
A
persona.
show. Yeah.
Yeah.
Understood. Listen, you have a documentary out. It's called Bobby's Kids,
Mhm.
Bridges HBCU brand culture, mentorship, and legacy in a way where we haven't seen before. What did you discover while making this film that surprised you? And how did the audience react to it?
Well, I just had a screening a couple of days ago at my studio, and somebody said this is the American band story. And what they were saying was that they saw themselves inside of it. Like, even though my story originated in Detroit, there were
Mhm.
people in this room from Miami, there were people in this room from Atlanta, and they were like, wow, I really connected with the story. It felt like my story too. And so that was really powerful because I'm always trying to connect in multi ways. So the fact that people saw themselves inside of it, then I had someone else that was really expressing like they wish they had a Mr. Brown, which was my teacher, who
Mm.
just went out of his way to make sure that we could see something different, and that we got out of Detroit and out of our bubble, and that we could see the world. And we did it through the vehicle of band and bringing HBCU band culture to Detroit at a time where we hadn't seen anything like that. So I think for me, it's the messaging in the film. It's the fact that people are seeing and they're being inspired to either be a mentor for somebody else or to pursue what's possible in their own lives. And for
Mm.
me, like that is just like that's really the undergirding of who I am anyway. So I'm just happy that, first of all, that I could honor my band director like this. He passed when he was 60 years old. That was way too young.
That's young, yeah.
Yeah, and so that I can honor him and honor what he did, and I could tell our story. It's not often you get to tell your story.
Yeah.
And one of my classmates, fun fact, is Jerome Bettis, who is an NFL Hall of Famer. He's the
Famer,
bus.
yeah.
And
Yes.
he came in, and he gave amazing, recollection. We were making history on the same football field.
Wow.
So it's something that I think that a lot of people, I kept saying this is my love in basketball, that nostalgia move, that type of movie
Yes.
that people want to see over and over again, and they identify with it, like a Coach Carter. I feel like that's what
Yes.
this is, right?
Wow. Wow. Listen, you talk about you're a proud FAMU alumni. What how did FAMU shape you into who you are today?
Oh my God. Like, it was just like a mecca of Black excellence.
Mm.
Like, it's kind of like, from my first, my first encounter, of course, was the band. I was in the 100. And so it was pre-drill. And when you think that you're the best of the best until you get in a band with all number ones. So when you step on that campus, the first thing I experienced was being amongst a group where everybody was like that chick or that dude at their school in their band.
Okay.
So it raises your bar in terms of what you believe you can do, because you have to now come up to a whole nother level, right?
Yeah.
Then the semester starts, and then you're getting your classes and you realize like, oh my God, like, people from everywhere, like everybody is like super dope, right? So for
Yeah.
me, FAMU was just like, I really honestly, I say it, to this day, it was one of the best choices. I made a decision to go to FAMU. You actually will see it in the movie. I made a decision to go to FAMU after seeing them one time at Southern University's homecoming. Southern University playing
Wow.
FAMU, right? And I saw them one time and made a whole decision about my life off of a song that's actually in the movie, right?
Yes.
And so I just, it was it's still today, my family, my friends, hey Anna, my friends, we're all just, we have a very strong bond. And it's like my son actually went to FAMU.
Wow.
He ended up transferring and graduating from Florida Memorial University, but that very first year, he made the 100, and I marched homecoming with him.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's one of those things. It was one of the best decisions I could have made in life. And I just think that we have, they say that we all have this inflated idea of who we are, like we brag differently. I mean, it's true. It's true.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I love what I'm always so grateful that, I made the decision to go. And I'm like kind of like a unicorn, because my band director was from Southern University. So all my brothers, look, I have some really close friends. They're all from Southern University. Southern University, Jackson State, and University of Arkansas, Pine Bluff. And so I actually have a deep appreciation for those schools too. Like I do love Southern, like, because every time I look at their band uniforms, I see my high school my band director and my friends. So I'm probably like a rarity, in that I have relationships with multiple HBCUs, which is the reason why I'm doing this, because I really want to just continue, with that conversation, that legacy, and that pipeline.
Before we let you go, I want to ask you this question. A lot of people sometimes when they get in college, they start off with a major, right? And then they go off they pivot, just like how you pivot into your career. Can you talk about how it's okay to pivot? How important it is don't to be afraid. What type of advice would you give to somebody who is getting ready to pivot in their life right now?
Yeah, I think that, it's bad when you stay in something too long and you know that you're not fulfilled and you know that you're not happy. That's always a signal. When you start getting those little signals, I always tell my clients, you will know what you're passionate about. Either it will really energize you, or you'll be like really aggravated by something, like feel like you need to solve that problem. Usually right there at that intersection is where your passion is. And when you start talking about a major, like I changed my major. um Interesting enough, I do both of them now, because my original major was marketing.
Okay.
Right. But when I got to FAMU, let me tell you, I was trying to get to FAMU as quickly as possible. I didn't realize I couldn't get a degree in marketing at the time. Right.
Wow.
So I got overwhelmed with the math, and I shifted from business over to psychology. Right.
Yes.
So it's really like I use psychology and I'm very good at marketing. But somewhere along the line, beauty came in. I fell into beauty. It was not something I was trying to do. I was naturally gifted at it. And I thought that, okay, well, I'm going to do beauty to work my way through graduate school. And when I got into the beauty industry, what I saw was that there were all these different buckets of things that I could do. I could be an entrepreneur. I could work on stage. I could develop products, and it was more expansive to me. And I did. I made a hard pivot. I just made a hard pivot in 2024.
Wow.
Right? And I'm 53. Okay, so I made a pivot. I made a turn then. So I think that you can't be afraid of change. You just have to, what the one thing I told myself early on in life is that if I stack enough skills, I will have options. I think that people need to have options, especially in this world. You need to understand that, as fast as things are changing, you need to understand how to always make yourself marketable and be able to sell and be able to have different buckets. And so that's one of the things that I enjoy actually teaching people. But yeah, don't be afraid to pivot. Like, you should be more afraid to be stuck. That's what you should be frightened to be so feel like you're just so like, I can't move. It's going to take too much for me to be able to do that. Like, you should be frightened to be stuck, because we have things that we're supposed to pursue in life. And oftentimes it calls for growth. It calls for you to be able to, like, be uncomfortable for a little while. And that's one of the things that I enjoy teaching people. I've always had bold, courageous faith. It took bold, courageous faith to get this film nationally distributed. I'm an independent, and I got it nationally distributed and on all streaming platforms. That doesn't happen, by playing it safe.
Yes, no doubt. Listen, there's a saying out there. I think I heard Bevy Smith, who's a media personality. She said it gets greater later, and you're doing great things right now. I wouldn't say late, but you're doing great things right now in your life right now, and I really appreciate the work that you're doing. Thank you so much, Ms. Brandi Mitchell. And I know Deuce Tucker, who's behind the scenes, is probably freaking out right now because he's a FAMU Rattler as well. So there he is right there. They put him up.
Hey, Deuce.
What's going on, Brandon? How you doing? Hello. Talk to him. Yeah, we're gonna strike.
Oh my
That's
God.
right. That's right.
We appreciate you so much for coming on, Ms. Brandi. Appreciate it.
Yes, and everybody go check out. I can't announce the network yet. Yes. Hopefully, I'll be able to announce it in a couple of days.
Okay.
I know they're watching, so hopefully I'll be able to announce it in a couple of days.
Okay.
But stay locked into Bobby'sKids.com so that you and my social media here I am Brandi Mitchell, so that you will be in touch with all the amazing things that we're doing.
Absolutely.
And support us.
Yes, support.
Yeah.
We gotta support our people, because the more that we support, the longer they stay on air. People forget that. The more projects they get to make, the more money they get to make for our community and for the industry. So thank you so much, Ms. Brandi Mitchell, for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. Listen. A new study from the UNCF finds that high school students aren't learning about HBCUs regardless of race, even when counselors are aware of them. Most students hear a little to nothing about HBCUs. Experts say better guidance and early exposure could help close the gap. Let's bring in Heaven Cunningham, and we got Deuce Tucker already here to discuss. Oh, Heaven! First of all, hello. Love to hear. New year, new hair. I love it. How are you doing?
Hi, happy New Year, guys! First show of the new year. Let's type it out.
I know. First show of the new year. I can't believe it. But let's get into this. Let's talk about your HBCU knowledge and how you picked your school. Deuce Tucker, let's start with you since you're the old head here. How did you hear about FAMU it coming up? I know you're from Atlanta, so you had HBCUs in your backyard. So why did you go to FAMU?
Honestly, we had a college tour back in my junior year of high school. And at first, originally, if I wasn't going to play sports in college, even though I was getting some interest from a couple of different HBCUs and schools, I was thinking of considering going to the Air Force specifically. And my father, he wasn't necessarily the biggest fan or supporter of what the politics and when it comes to the economy was looking like when it comes to leadership within the White House at that time. If you think about how I graduated in 2019.
Yes.
And when they gave us the idea or the opportunity from my high school to go on these college tours, we went to 20 schools. I think 12 PWIs and 8 HBCUs. Now, it was definitely a great experience to see all of these institutions and things like that. But the only one that made me feel like it has a great amount of class, sophistication, fun, and scholarly achievement, honestly, was FAMU. I even went to Bethune-Cookman, went to Morehouse. I felt as if every single individual that I encountered at FAMU loved their school. They just didn't go just to go, but they actually embraced it. And you heard Miss Brandi, FAMU is one of a kind. So that's why we keep having these, Florida A&M guests. But just being able to be placed in that position at the right place at the right time on a college tour in high school. And I went during homecoming season. I was
heaven.
Oh, my bad. And our mayor was a FAMU
That's
alum.
right. Yes, and she's running for governor, Keisha Lance Bottoms. That's right.
That's beautiful. Even before technology. Personally, Cheney University of Pennsylvania, my love, the nation's first HBCU, founded in 1837. I found Cheney University through the Denson Admissions Group. So I actually joined a college admissions program in my hometown of Mount Vernon. I was interested in Grambling. I was interested in Benedict. But Cheney, I feel as though, kind of what Deuce said, it's just a feeling came over me. I actually didn't tour Cheney before I moved in. So I definitely had all my faith in God. But I checked out one thing I would say, especially to freshmen, I always tell them, look at the SGA pages, look at the Royal Court page, look at the student activities page, because I feel like that's where you really get the raw engagement, because it's usually student-run pages as well. So I feel like the student leadership on campus is definitely what drew me closer to Cheney.
Well, so I'm kind of like Kevin. I never visited to the school that I went to initially. So I started off at North Carolina Central University. But to answer the question, how did I hear about HBCUs? Actually, my 7th grade English teacher, who was a white woman, Miss Pamela Parker, she had us write a Black History fun fact every day. She talked about HBCUs. Didn't know what HBCUs. Growing up in Bloomfield, Connecticut, I played football. I was like Deuce. I was going to be an athlete. And then I start to realize, Deuce, in heaven, that's a lifestyle that I didn't want, in college. I wanted to, and I talked more than I could play. So I said, I got in trouble. I was the skinniest lineman for a reason, because I talked a lot, so I had to run. So I figured out, well, I love sports and I love talking. So I found a career where I could talk for a living and talk about stuff that I like. So I discovered journalism, writing, and all that stuff. So, but I also wanted to be with my people. So I also wanted to go to a HBCU where I was celebrated, not tolerated. So going to a historically Black college as a first generation student, I had dreams to go to Howard. That was my dream school because my mom had me young. And she turned down a full ride to Howard to have me. So I wanted to carry on that legacy for her, but that tuition said something else. So, and I got 3 little siblings to think about. So I went to NCCU, had a great, experience there. And then I transferred over to where I'm at now, Fayetteville State University. So I really enjoy, the experience of a HBCU, because like I said earlier, it's somewhere where I'm celebrated, not tolerated. I don't have, we have our whole lives to, be minorities. So especially these four years are very pitiful, are very crucial in our, upbringing and going into adulthood. Before we go into our career. So, people think about, oh, that's not realistic on how the world looks, but you don't have to worry. Well, you don't have to worry most of the time about, that barrier. Okay, they're judging me because of how I look. I think HBCU really helped me introduce myself. Introduce myself,
Mhm.
present myself, be comfortable in my skin. That I don't feel like a PWI would have allowed me to. So that's really what's something how I heard about HBCUs and coming up. Okay, next question. Did knowing the difference between a HBCU and a PWI influence your decision to choose your school, Heaven?
That's a great question. I love the fact that you touched on the fact that no, genuine
It's not
response.
Roy Court. Okay.
Natural.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
That was definitely a great question, though. I love the fact that you provided a little bit of context with your previous answer, Shimei, because I actually, I was just doing my research about HBCUs actually my senior year of high school. So up until the point where I was applying to schools, I didn't know what an HBCU was. And I think that's why I'm so passionate about exposure. Because like I said, it was those student-run Instagram accounts that really drew me closer to the culture of HBCUs. And that's why I'm so happy that I can do work now in the community to tell elementary school students about the history of HBCUs, because it's way bigger, like you said, than just scholarship and merit. Can you repeat the question?
I was just saying, how did you
Okay, PWI.
Okay.
I didn't know. So I just discovered HBCUs my senior year. So I still didn't get the full effect, honestly, until I went to Cheney, and I was like, wow, like I have Black nurses, Black doctors, like the whole faculty and staff. I don't even think I understood the magnitude of historically Black colleges and universities until I really stepped foot on campus, and I was like, Fried Chicken Wednesday? Okay.
Ooh. I'm a big bag. When I heard that, they sold me on that. Yeah. I'm a big bag, Heaven. When I heard that was Fried Chicken Wednesday every Wednesday, they had me. That was the selling point. You could have told me that from the get-go. I didn't care about tuition. There you go. That's why I got a freshman 20, not a freshman 15. But we digress. Deuce, go ahead. What was your tournament? Because you were an athlete, so that's a different.
PWI versus HBCU.
Yeah. Honestly, I've been knew what an HBCU was since like my freshman year in high school, because I'm in a predominantly Black city. So
that's right.
A lot of people that have made a great impact within society, civil rights, everyday politics. They either went to like Morehouse, or a couple people went to Albany State. My brother, he went to Tuskegee. So it's like, I was actually aware. Yeah, he's went to Tuskegee, pledged Kappa Alpha Psi. So he, taught me a couple of things.
Honors Day to him, actually.
Yeah. So he was very excited. But just being able to be around, people who have impacted the city that I live in and contributed so many things that help benefit African Americans, I was already aware of them. However, me going on that tour, as well as being able to speak to more people and actually seeing individuals that are doing things that I like or prefer or appreciate, that went to these institutions, something like, they are the pillar. And when it comes to the professors or the faculty or the people that have been impacted by these institutions, they honestly can give you more of a feedback than anyone else, because they look like you, they see how you see things, and they also have relatively experience when it comes to different corporate Americas or different endeavors that tie into different futures and communities around the world, and they come back here to prepare us for that. So that's why I feel like HBCUs are, essential, and that's why I knew what they were, and PWIs, I guess.
Yeah, growing up in Connecticut, I mentioned in a little bit with my 7th grade teacher, but we were taught, our guidance counselor told us to go to the Southern Connecticut's, go to the Yukons, go to the Easterns. And I was like, I didn't want to go I didn't want to stay in Connecticut. No, I love my hometown, but I wanted to grow. I feel like once I got out of the state of Connecticut and moved to the South, I think that my view on the world would have changed. And it definitely has. Coming to North Carolina, in North Carolina, I think it's the 2nd state with the most HBCUs in the country. And seeing the different types of cultures, I had the best of both worlds, kind of going to 2 HBCUs and seeing, that, a bigger HBCU in Central NCCU is a different culture than FSU, which is a smaller school, meaning there's more connection with your peers. You don't have to worry about the cliques. You didn't have to worry about all the mingling. You knew everybody. Where I'm at now, FSU, we call it Family State University because it's really like a family. Like you said, Deuce, it's like those professors are in your corner, those mentors are in your corner. So I really believe that every school is not for everybody. So there's other people. I think people get this narrative that when you think of HBC, you think of Howard, you think of Spelman, you think of Morehouse. There's other
And
schools. There's the FAMU. I mean, NCAT. You think about those people. They will make Deuce happy. But people forget about the smaller ones. They forget about the Cheney Universities of Pennsylvania.
Yes, the
They forget
first
about the
HBCU.
Tuskegee.
yeah, we
They
do.
forget about the Albany states, the Mississippi Valley states. They forget about the Morgan states. They forget about the Jackson states. They forget about these other small HBCUs that don't
Coppin.
fit in Coppin State. Exactly. They forget about all these other small HBCUs that you could still go to a HBCU, have that culture,
Mhm.
right? But you don't have to worry about the big cliques. And I think people
Housing.
in housing, that's another one. That's another reason why I transferred from the NCCU. But we digress. But what I'm saying is the more of the story
Yes.
is I feel like you need to go to. I think what I should have done, and I recommend for people to do, tour the school, go to talk to people. Get a vibe of the school, get a vibe of the culture. Social media does help. You shouldn't do your judgment on just social media, but I feel like going there in person to see, do I fit there? Gee,
Yeah.
I see myself striving there. That's important because those 4 years are very important. Go ahead, Evan. You had your finger
All right,
up.
that just made me think. So shout out to my 2 baby cousins. They just started at NCAT last fall.
Yeah.
It just reminded me though, like it's important, especially when you're doing your research about these universities, even if you tour there, please remember that this is your degree is always the goal at the end of the day. So you need to be researching your major, you need to be researching your career fields because a lot of people come to HBCUs and they complain about financial aid or lack of resources. But I promise you, if you adequately do your research, you can set up your 4-year plan at your HBCU beautifully. And like Shimei said, and even with our guest earlier about pivoting and knowing when to pull back and switch schools. So if you're at a PWI, you want to switch to a HBCU, know that the 2-year plan to transfer definitely works still. We
It
love
does.
you. Come on over.
It does. It's very, very true.
Mhm.
Listen, this last question. Do you think that what do you think can be done to better educate people, younger students, high school students, about HBCUs and their values? Heaven, as a student leader, how can people in schools, because that's very crazy on how people don't really know what HBCUs are,
Mhm.
or according to the study with UNCF, how can people get better educated about HBCUs?
I think that HBCU unity within the HBCU community definitely helps. Like you said, other schools highlighting those smaller schools. Myself being in New York, I think that there's definitely a lack of representation, obviously, because there's no HBCU in New York. So I think that Southern culture coming up north and just doing different workshops, especially if you're still in school. I feel like the younger you are and the sooner you should start speaking out about your experience at your HBCU, because I know with Flight 914, the Collegiate Prep Summit that I founded last summer, I have already connected with so many different students that actually want to come back to be mentors this year at the
Wow.
Collegiate Prep Summit. So I think that it's really just about the representation in student leadership where, yes, post-grad, you can advocate all you want, and I'm about to graduate, y'all, so trust, I'm not throwing shade, but I feel like really those freshmen, people who just leave home, like you don't have to leave home and never look back. And before I attended Cheney, I never used to put my last name on things. I was just Heaven. I never used to tell anyone I was from Mount Vernon. And now I am Heaven, Maxine Donette Cunningham. I have Mount Vernon pride. And I feel like that's the embodiment of what my HBCU has done for me. And I feel like that's the best way to spread it. Just be real, raw, and authentic and start at home.
Deuce?
Hey, you cut out real quick. Repeat that real quick. Sorry.
Dude, I was saying, how can people, be better educated, especially younger students in high school, be better educated about HBCUs and their values?
Honestly, man, it just comes with the core. When I say the core, it comes with the foundation of who has experienced them and who has an interest of experiencing them. Now, when we have our cellular devices, our phones in our hands, we have the ability to be able to discover a multitude of things that a lot of people that came before us weren't able to. Therefore, we need just to honestly use these resources to be able to pour into generations after so that we can continue these things. Another thing, when I realized it's kind of correlated to fashion and business and things of that nature, we're quick to support, Ralph Lauren's and Tommy
Yeah,
Hilfiger
Gucci.
and
Yeah,
Gucci, Louis Vuitton, but
Right.
FUBU, Rockaware,
Mhm.
like all of these brands that are quote unquote
Lululemon.
all of these brands that are quote unquote out of style, but the reason why they're out of style because we don't continue to uphold them and the standard that they were actually set for us.
Mhm.
These type of institutions, as well as these clothing brands, these small businesses are for us and they were owned by us and they're for us. So
Yeah.
when people allow these type of societal impacts to be able to contribute a shift from what is
Yes.
actually made for us, then we're doing ourselves a disservice. However, if we're able to actually pour into our families, pour into our communities, then HBCU should be equivalent as well. It doesn't matter where you are, it doesn't matter where you're from, you have the ability to be able to make a difference.
Mhm.
However, you also have the ability to share knowledge, and knowledge is power, and power is wisdom.
I
Come
will
on.
say, oh, go ahead. Oh, well, you got something to say? Go ahead, Kevin.
Yes,
Kevin.
come on, Unc.
Oh,
Yes. The HBCU community, especially in marketing though, like the HBCU network, millions and thousands of insights. Like y'all don't even understand. I feel as though the HBCU world, the fact that I was so unaware of it, like I'm basically a part of the study as a high
yeah.
schooler, is insane to me because it's huge. And I think that mainstream media definitely needs to pick up on that. And that's why I love seeing HBCU films being nominated for awards, etc. Because
Yes.
we need to break out. We are literally the pinnacle of excellence.
Exactly. And I believe as well that we're starting to see that a little bit. And I love that, we're starting to see, different shows like First Take goes to during football season. They go to HBC. That's really great. That's like going to highlight these, these mainstream put on linear television, highlight HBCUs across the country. So that's a great step. And seeing these these stars like Spike Lee, who's a Morehouse grad, seeing these people like
Kevin Hart.
Kamala Harris. Yeah,
Yeah.
Kamala Harris,
Kevin,
who
Basically,
yeah,
they bring on guests, to kind of like put into those positions or those spaces where usually they wouldn't
yes,
go. That's what I'm saying.
mm,
exactly. So that's the thing. More of the story is support HBCUs, educate people on HBCUs and their values. And in my opinion, every black child should go to an HBCU. That's a hot take, but I said it. I'll say it like I mean it. We love you so much for watching. HBCUs are the way. Happy New Year. Glad to be back. Thank you so much for filling in for me, Deuce. I heard you did a great job last week. I'm very
yes,
proud of you.
he
Appreciate it.
did. Go check it
Man.
out.
Yeah,
yes,
go check it out.
we appreciate you. Thank you so much. Thank you to our guests. Thank you for watching. From all of us here at Historically Black Sense News, I'm Shimei Cook,
I am Heaven Cunningham.
And I'm Deuce Tucker.
and we'll see you guys next week. The action never stops. We're coming up on 1 year, Heaven.
One year.
All right,
Y'all the
bye. We love you for watching.
OG.